Ladies and gentlemen, life has a rhythm, a flow, a divine timing, and too often we spend our days trying to fight it, trying to force it to go our way. But let me tell you something, some of the most beautiful things in life happen when we let go and let things unfold the way they're meant to. You see, we live in a world that glorifies control. Make it happen, they tell you. If you want it, take it. But there's wisdom in stepping back, in allowing things to breathe, and trusting that what's for you will find you when the time is right. So tonight, I want to talk about why you shouldn't force anything in life. Forcing it can break it. Imagine you're holding a delicate glass in your hands. If you handle it with care, it stays intact, beautiful, and useful. But if you grip it too tightly, it shatters, leaving you with nothing but sharp pieces. This is what forcing things in life feels like. When you try to push too hard or control situations that aren't ready, you risk breaking something precious. Take relationships, for example. How many times have you seen someone try to force a connection, chasing after someone who isn't ready or interested? They send the endless texts, bend over backward to please, and ignore all the signs telling them to step back. What happens? The relationship cracks under the weight of all that pressure. Instead of mutual growth, there's resentment, exhaustion, and often heartbreak. This applies to more than just relationships, careers, goals, even personal growth. If you try to rush or force them, the result is rarely what you hoped for. I once heard about an entrepreneur who wanted to launch his business so badly that he skipped over the planning, the research, and the testing. He forced his way to an early launch, and for a brief moment, it looked like a success. But soon, things fell apart. Customers were unhappy, systems failed, and he had to shut everything down to start from scratch. If he had allowed the process to unfold naturally, taking time to build a strong foundation, the outcome could have been different. When we force things, we don't give them the room they need to grow naturally. Think about trying to plant a seed. You can't push it into the ground, yell at it to grow faster, or pull on the sprout to make it taller. All you'll do is destroy the seedling. Growth and progress require patience, nurturing, and trust in the process. Forcing things also robs us of clarity. When you're so focused on pushing, you lose the ability to step back and ask, is this even right for me? Is this what I truly want? Sometimes the very thing you're chasing isn't meant for you, but the act of forcing it blinds you to that truth. Life isn't meant to be forced, it's meant to be lived. And the beauty of living is found in the ebb and flow, the give and take, the moments where we trust enough to let go of the reins and allow what's meant for us to come in its own time. Growth takes time. When you look at the world around you, everything worth having takes time to grow. A tree doesn't reach the sky overnight. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly in a day. Even the human body, the incredible vessel we live in, takes years to fully grow and develop. Growth is never instantaneous, and for good reason. It's in the waiting that transformation happens. Think of a farmer planting a crop. They don't plant seeds one day and expect to harvest the next. They know the soil needs to be prepared. The seeds need to be watered, and the sun needs to do its work. The farmer waits because they trust the process. They trust that with care and time, those seeds will grow into a bountiful harvest. We often forget this truth in our own lives. We want instant results, immediate gratification, and quick fixes. But the reality is, rushing the process often leads to disappointment. Imagine trying to rush a cake in the oven. You crank up the temperature thinking it'll bake faster, but all you end up with is a burnt outside and an undercooked middle. Life works the same way. If you try to speed through the process, you miss out on the depth, the lessons, and the richness that comes with taking your time. This applies to personal growth as well. We all have goals, dreams, and versions of ourselves we're striving to become. But growth isn't linear, and it's rarely fast. Sometimes it feels like you're standing still, like nothing is changing. But under the surface, Just like a seed in the soil, incredible things are happening. You're learning, healing, building strength, and preparing for the next chapter. One of the most inspiring stories I've heard is about a man named Aaron who struggled for years with addiction. He tried forcing himself to quit cold turkey, thinking he could willpower his way out of it. But every time, he'd relapse, frustrated and ashamed. It wasn't until he embraced the process, seeking help, building a support system, and taking it one day at a time, that he found lasting change. Today, Aaron is 5 years sober and helps others on their journey. His growth took time, but it was that time that made all the difference. Growth also requires us to be present. If you're constantly looking ahead, waiting for the finish line, you miss the beauty of where you are right now. Think of a hiker climbing a mountain. If they only focus on the peak, they'll miss the breathtaking views, the fresh air, and the sense of accomplishment that comes with every step. The process of growth isn't just about reaching your goal. It's about who you become along the way. It's in the struggle that you build strength, in the setbacks that you learn resilience, and in the waiting that you develop patience. So take a deep breath. Trust that growth is happening even when you can't see it. And remember, the things that take time are often the things that last. Trust the detours. Life rarely moves in a straight line. You may have your plans, your timelines, and your expectations. But life has a way of rerouting you, of throwing in detours that make you question everything. And yet, it's often those detours that lead you to exactly where you're meant to be. Think about the frustration we feel when GPS tells us to take an alternate route. We groan, we complain, we worry about being late. But what we don't see in that moment is the traffic jam avoided, the accident ahead, or the roadblocks that could have stopped us entirely. Those detours, inconvenient as they may seem, are often protecting us, guiding us towards something better. I once met a young man named Jacob. He had his entire career planned out. He was going to be a lawyer, work in a big firm, and climb the corporate ladder. But after graduation, he didn't get into the law school he'd set his sights on. He was devastated, convinced that his dream was slipping away. With no other options, he took a job at a nonprofit to pay the bills. What he discovered there changed everything. Jacob found his passion for helping underserved communities, and it became clear to him that his path wasn't in corporate law after all. Today, he's a public defender making a difference in people's lives every single day. That initial rejection wasn't a failure, it was a redirection, a detour that brought him to his purpose. Detours teach us to release our need for control. They challenge us to stop gripping so tightly to our plans and to trust the process. It's not easy. When things don't go the way we want, we often feel like we've failed, like we're falling behind. But sometimes what looks like a setback is actually setting you up for something greater. There's a story about Steve Jobs that many people find inspiring. After co-founding Apple, he was forced out of his own company. Imagine the humiliation, the sense of loss, the overwhelming feeling of rejection. But during that time away, he founded another company called Next and acquired Pixar, which became one of the most successful animation studios in history. When Apple eventually brought him back, the lessons and skills he gained during his detour helped him transform Apple into the powerhouse it is today. Trusting the detours doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means staying open to the possibility that there's more than one way to get there. It means recognizing that the path you thought was right might not be the one that takes you to your destination. And sometimes the detour becomes the destination itself. When you find yourself facing a detour, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? What opportunities are hidden in this unexpected turn? You might not see it right away, but if you trust the journey, the answers will reveal themselves. Peace comes from letting go. There is a certain kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to control everything, When you let go of the need to force outcomes, you create space for life to unfold as it's meant to. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the fear, the pressure, and the constant striving that weigh you down. Imagine carrying a heavy suitcase everywhere you go. At first, you might not notice the weight, but over time, it starts to wear you out. Your shoulders ache, your hands cramp, and every step feels harder than the last. Now imagine putting that suitcase down. That relief, that lightness, that's what it feels like to let go. We often hold on to things out of fear. Fear that if we don't push harder, we'll fall behind. Fear that if we don't fight for it, we'll lose it. But holding on too tightly can have the opposite effect. When you're so focused on controlling every detail, you miss the bigger picture. You become so consumed by the struggle that you forget to enjoy the journey. I once spoke to a woman named Clara who had spent years trying to control every aspect of her life. Her career, her relationships, even her daily schedule, everything was meticulously planned. But no matter how hard she tried, things never went exactly the way she wanted. The constant pressure left her exhausted and unhappy. One day, she decided to stop fighting. She focused on doing her best without obsessing over the outcome. Slowly, she began to feel lighter, freer. Doors she hadn't even noticed before started to open. By letting go, Clara found the peace and happiness she'd been chasing all along. Letting go is a leap of faith. It requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that life has a way of working out, even if it doesn't look like what you imagined. It's about recognizing that you can't control everything, and that's okay. There's an old proverb that says, a bird does not cling to the branch it's sitting on. It trusts its wings, knowing that even if the branch breaks, it can fly. We need to trust our wings too. When we let go of what's weighing us down, whether it's fear, doubt, or the need to control, we give ourselves the freedom to soar. Letting go also opens the door to gratitude. When you're not consumed by what you're trying to force, you can appreciate what you already have. You can find joy in the little things, in the quiet moments, in the beauty of the present. Peace isn't found in controlling life, it's found in surrendering to it. It's found in knowing that you're doing your best and trusting that what's meant for you will come. What's meant for you will come. Life has a rhythm, a timing, a flow that often defies our understanding. What's meant for you will come, not because you chase it down or force it into place, but because it was always meant to find you. This idea isn't about passivity, it's about trusting that when you align with your purpose, the opportunities, people, and experiences meant for you will naturally fall into place. Think about moments in your life when things unexpectedly worked out. Maybe it was a job you weren't sure you'd get, but did anyway, or a relationship that appeared when you weren't even looking. Those moments remind us that we don't have to force everything to make it happen. Life has a way of aligning the right things at the right time. There's a story about a young woman named Sarah who dreamed of becoming an artist. She tried to sell her paintings for years, but faced rejection after rejection. Discouraged, she gave up on selling her work and started painting purely for herself. She poured her heart into her art, no longer worried about making it a business. One day, a gallery owner stumbled across her online portfolio and was captivated. They offered her a solo exhibition, and her career took off from there. Sarah didn't achieve success because she forced it. She achieved it because she let go of the pressure and focused on her passion. Forcing things can make you miss the subtle, natural ways life is trying to bring you what you need. Sometimes what's meant for you arrives disguised as something you didn't expect. A setback, a delay, or even a failure might be the doorway to your greatest opportunity. When you stop forcing, you create the space for those moments to come through. The truth is, what's truly meant for you won't pass you by. It may take longer than you hoped, or arrive in a way you didn't anticipate, but if it's yours, it will come. This isn't about sitting idle. It's about trusting that your efforts, combined with life's timing, will lead you to the right place. There's a power in patience, in knowing that the best things take time. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water it, nurture it, and trust that it's doing what it's supposed to do. What's meant for you works the same way. It's growing even when you can't see it. Embrace the flow of life. Life is like a river. It has its currents, its twists and turns, its calm stretches and roaring rapids. When you try to fight against it, when you swim upstream or cling to the rocks, you exhaust yourself. But when you let go and flow with it, you discover a sense of ease, of alignment, of belonging to something greater than yourself. Think about the moments in life when you felt in sync with everything around you. Maybe it was a creative project that seemed to come together effortlessly, or a conversation that flowed so naturally it felt like destiny. Those moments happen when you're aligned with the flow of life, when you stop resisting and start trusting. Resisting life's flow often stems from fear. We fear losing control, fear the unknown, fear that if we don't force things, they'll slip away. But life isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be experienced. When you stop trying to control every detail, you open yourself to the beauty and spontaneity of what's around you. I once heard a story about a man who wanted to climb a mountain. He planned every detail meticulously, the route, the gear, the timing, but when he started his ascent, bad weather forced him to change course. Frustrated, he felt like all his planning was wasted. Yet that alternate route led him to a breathtaking view he would have never seen otherwise, one that wasn't on the maps or in the guidebooks. By embracing the flow, by adapting to the moment, he found something far more beautiful than what he had planned. Embracing life's flow doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means being flexible in how you get there. It means recognizing that the path you envisioned might not be the path you need. When you trust the flow, you allow life to take you to places you couldn't have imagined on your own. Even in the challenges, there is flow. Think about rivers. When they encounter rocks, they don't stop. They don't try to push the rocks out of the way. They move around them, over them, through them. The river adapts, and in doing so, it becomes stronger, deeper, more beautiful. The same is true for you. Challenges are not obstacles meant to stop you. They're part of the flow, shaping you, teaching you, and preparing you for what's next. When you embrace them instead of resisting, you find strength you didn't know you had. Life's flow also teaches us to be present. When you're constantly looking ahead, worried about what's next, you miss what's happening right now. The laughter of a loved one, the warmth of the sun on your face, the quiet joy of a moment alone. These are the moments that make life rich. The flow of life is always moving, always changing. You don't need to control it. You just need to trust it. Trust that it's carrying you where you're meant to go. Trust that the current knows the way, even when you don't. So as you walk through life, remember this. Don't force anything. Life isn't a race, it's a rhythm. It's not about pushing harder, controlling every detail, or wrestling with the unknown. It's about trusting that the detours, the delays, and even the disappointments are shaping you for something greater. What's meant for you will find its way to you, not because you chased it endlessly, but because you were ready to receive it. Growth takes time, and peace comes when you embrace the flow instead of resisting it. Let go of the need to have all the answers right now. Instead, focus on doing your best, learning from the journey, and being present for the moments that truly matter. Think of the river, steady, relentless, yet patient. It carves mountains not by force, but by persistence. It doesn't fight the rocks in its way. It moves with grace around them. You are that river. You have the strength, the patience, and the wisdom to reach your destination, no matter how winding the path may seem. Trust yourself. Trust the timing of your life, and trust that sometimes the greatest gifts come not from forcing the door open, but from waiting for it to swing wide exactly when it's supposed to. Go forward with faith, with courage, and with a heart open to what life has in store for you. Because when you stop forcing, you'll discover something extraordinary. Everything you've ever needed has been within you all along.